All right, here we go. Best of 3. TVT. Let me introduce the Brazilian Terran. In the bottom right of Oceanborn is Kelazhur, the runner-up at ESL Regionals for North America. And needs no introduction, but, I mean, I gotta justify my presence here for some reason. It's the man, the myth, the Maru. The, 7-time GSL champion, more GSL championships than I can count on one hand, but still looking for any real success. Okay, being second place at the World Finals at IM Katowice, sure, that's pretty good. And for anyone else, it would be great. But for Maru, I think possibly the biggest disappointment of his career. We'll see what he has in store here today. I'm very interested to see which Maru shows up today, as it's always a bit of a mixed bag. Double gas for both sides. TVT, a very technical matchup. We're going to have to stare at the production tab. We're going to have to stare at the game. Well, I'll do it, and then I'll convey it to you. But, like, metaphor, I'm including you in this so we feel connected as a viewer and a commentator. All right? But TVT is essentially fought in the production tab right up until the split second it isn't. Getting that one extra Raven, those 2 extra Vikings, leveraging that little tiny advantage, especially with air control, into potentially a victory outright. Or, of course, setting up for the supreme late game. Mass Viking Raven, maybe some battle cruisers. I do hope we get one of those back and forth brutal TVTs where Marine Tank just goes flying. I mean, come on, we're on Oceanborn, which, don't tell anyone I did this. Sometimes it breaks my computer. Okay, it can kill the FPS if you go to extreme physics, but that's usually when Zergs are involved, because they ruin everything, and also have a much higher unit count, but expansion on the way. Did Maru did take a look around Kelazhur, scouted for proxies, poked and prodded, but did not go across the map. Factory is on the way. Very simply, you go for the 2 gas, because if you get a factory, if your opponent has a factory and any factory units early and you don't, that could be game losing right off the bat. So both players investing in that early tech. Cyclones, dangerous to one another and everything else involved. Both players incrementing out. I don't think it's going to be a Gumiho-esque Cyclone build. I'm still loving that. The first, if you were here late, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay, not really, but the very first game of the day in our first series was Gumiho going for a straight-up mech build against Showtime. All right, since this is a live tournament, I'll spoil it. He won. And not just some sort of surprise timing, but he made it look like a real thing. So we should, and I'm going to do my best to make sure we do have more Gumiho later in the day. In fact, the winner of this will be facing off... No, wait, no, he's on the other side of the bracket. But eventually, yes. All right, the production tab, the battle still being fought, because, of course, neither player willing to risk it as of yet. But here comes Maru. Double, clone, drop. Gonna get aggressive. Kelazhur, sitting back. We'll see how it goes. There's only going to be a split second to react on both sides. A siege tank is already completed. 4 Marines out in front. The tank hits the clones first, and that means Maru already has to back off. Oh, a bit of an elementary mistake. Not checking for a siege tank, but it just does critical damage to the clones. They're one hit away. That essentially stops this entire attack. Not that this was a big commitment out of Maru, but ideally he would have liked better than nothing. Overall. I guess he got a Marie. Raven interference matrix for both sides. Raven able to lock down siege tanks, other Ravens. Plenty of utility there. Maru not done yet. He's going to try it. Another siege tank on the high ground. Smacks 2 Reapers out of the game. And, I don't know. It's not going... Maru, trying to fit a square peg in a non-existent hole. The cyclone drop just not getting anything done. And Kelazhur with a confident defense. Kelazhur has not looked outside of his base. He's just been building up.
This better be good.
I know it better be good, okay? And oh my god, if he gets the medevac with 2 cyclones, this could be a deadly timing. Not quite there, but he's working on it. Ravens do have interference matrix. Maru, how many siege tanks? 0. That's not very many. And, well... Alright, moving up. And how does Maru deal with this? He doesn't have any siege tanks. There's 3 tanks versus 0. That's not... It's not gonna cut it. There's still energy on the Ravens for both sides. He needs to scramble all of the tanks to have a chance here. And even then, though, Kelazhur has his own Ravens. Here he comes. Here come the scrambles. Drops down the auto turrets. Doesn't get all 3 tanks. Aye. Auto turret on the back line. Maru, 17 SCVs, dead. A Raven targeted, taken out, and Kelazhur, his siege tank, still intact. The Brazilian Terran on the cusp of taking game 1. Away from Maru. A decisive victory. Maru. He found no success early, and he doubled down on it. It just wasn't enough. Kelazhur with a comfortable tank push just walks across the map and lays it down. I wish I could say that was a back and forth battle, but no. Kelazhur just backhanded Maru out of his base, and then back into his own. And that was it. Maru just crumbles. Well, didn't even get my fancy, extreme physics as well. Well, that's why we play best of 3s, but it does not fill me with determination. I'm not one for editorializing. That's a lie, but... We'll see. Loading it up to game 2. The Cyclone drop is if your opponent is not defensive. Like if they went for a 1 Rax expand or a proxy Rax or something and you're able to get the Cyclone drop, maybe. But if they also have Cyclones and siege tanks, I'm not a mathematician, but if they have the same units plus siege tanks, it seems better. Kelazhur just not letting any nerves get to him. That was a strong execution. Taking their sweet time, getting the next game loaded up. But once we do, we're going to see if Maru can turn it around or if Kelazhur can close it out. Any moment. What the map is going to be? Site Delta. You know what that means? Not rhetorical. I don't know what it means. It's a pretty standard map. I don't expect anything untoward. I haven't seen any particularly TVT-based cheeses here. So... loading in momentarily. And Maru. Yeah, now, for those watching, Game sounds, music volume. If there are any issues, make sure to tell production in the chat. Jimmy may have gotten it wrong, but I think we laid it down pretty well so far. And let me know in game 2, because we got a long day ahead of us. So don't go anywhere. I don't know why I'm doing these awkward introductions. Anyways, game 2, Site Delta. Maru versus Kelazhur. Maru on the ropes, as Kelazhur with a comfortable victory, putting him on match point in this best of 3. In the top left, the Brazilian tear. It's Kelazhur. And in the bottom right, of course, it's Maru. Okay. That was not it from Maru. Kelazhur with... Honestly, that was kind of a ladder build out of Kelazhur. You sit back. It shows a level of confidence, too. To not scout. To do nothing and just defend. It, on paper, is the best way to play economically. But if you get caught off guard at all, that is something that could be solved with some basic scouting. But Kelazhur just sat back and built up his tank push with the Ravens and Interference Matrix. And you can write this down. This is a science fact. Having siege tanks is better than not having siege tanks. All right. So, in case you're looking for some knowledge to take away from this. Two gas. Maru is scouting, looking for the proxies. What would Maru do in this situation? Probably proxy Rex up a game. SCV scout heads on up, sees a barracks in the base, which at least gives some of this away. Factory for Maru. Ooh. Reaper into Reactor for Kelazhur. A bit of a risky build, but he might be using the fact that this map has a ramp at the natural, which gives you a little bit of extra safety against early aggression. So if you go for the Reactor and your opponent does not, they're going to have more units for at least a small window. But because Site Delta does have that ramp up to the natural, you can kind of fudge the numbers a bit. It's very unlikely Maru is going to go running up the ramp with 2 Reapers and his first Cyclone. But either way, Kelazhur, he is going for Marines to start out. That means he wants gas for a starport. So again, going to a very heavy tech build. Not bothering with more than 1 Reaper here. Starport on the way. Maru, he is angling towards a similar build to last game. It's not that the Cyclone drop can't work. It just doesn't have the potential of a straight-up push. Oh, God. Oh, no. They're both doing it. Oh, all right. Here we go. Now, this is when things get a little more... complicated. Both players loading up a medevac to start. It looks like Kelazhur going to bring along his Marines. Oh, Reaper's super dead. Whereas Maru once again going for the Cyclone drop. But there are 2 clones already for Kela. I don't know if we're abbreviating to Kela. I tried it. I didn't really like it. Maybe. He has a cool name. I don't know what it's based on. Moving on. And Maru is... Well, where's his medevac drop? Back at home. So he's got the defenses, but he just has less units here. But a siege tank. And remember that tip we learned earlier. 1 siege tank better than none siege tank. And Maru with it. Well, Kelazhur moving back up, but the tank has repositioned in time. And I think Maru, yeah, smacks the Marines. He will be able to drive this back. Okay, so now Maru has invented siege tank technology and will survive to fight further on. Okay. We got a game. Interference matrix on the way. Going to be a little distracted by the Chutoy Diva. Oh my god, Kelazhur! The most obvious but plausible mistake. Loses one Cyclone. And now Maru? Well, he's warmed up here. It was the first game of the day, the typical ladder player excuse, but if Maru wants to use it, I'll allow it. Now he's got everything locked down, equal on workers. He shut down the early aggression. His third command center, a little bit quicker, adding barracks 2 and 3. Kelazhur already has barracks 2 and 3 on the way, as well as the first 2 engineering base. So infrastructure-wise, he's doing pretty well. A little supply bot there for a moment. The double drop heading towards the back. And those Cyclones get bonus damage against SCVs with their bonus to mechanical kind of awkwardly. The Cyclone drop finding a lot of damage here. 6-7 kills. Maru still going. And interference, and he gets out. And that's more like it. 11 SCVs down. Maru takes a decisive advantage. He's got his 1-1 on the way. Kelazhur, that's a significant hamstring right there. As it's a mirror matchup. They're both going for identical real timings here. They've both got double NG Bay. They're both going barracks 4 and 5. 1-1 will be quicker for Maru. He now has significantly more SCVs. What does Kelazhur have instead? 2 Vikings. All right, he's got 2 Vikings, but they're on the other side of the map boxing out the Cyclone drop. So if Kelazhur can catch Maru off guard here for just a moment, Maru doesn't see it. Here it is, the armies, but both sides have Ravens, which means if they're both looking, the advantage goes to whoever has more Ravens and more siege tanks, clearly. So Kelazhur has to back off. Maru, though, this time is working from a position of advantage. His upgrades are quicker. His SCV count is higher. His third base is already landed, and his production is online, as well as having an extra Raven. So, at this point, it is Maru with the initiative. Kelazhur going to try to catch him off guard, but this is such a hard part of Terran versus Terran, especially against someone like Maru. You're not going to find, you're hopefully, for Maru's sake, not going to find too many opportunities to catch him off guard. Maru should know the advantage he's in, clearly. Still microing those Cyclones around the map. Combat shield, significantly quicker here for Maru, who's got his 1-1 already completing. And this is up, look at those upgrades lining up. Stim, +1/+1, and combat shield almost done. Kelazhur trying to catch him while he can. Zoning him out for now. The only advantage are those 2 Vikings, but scrambles 1. Gets 2. All 3 tanks. Maru moving forward. Stim splits and goes for it. Knocks out the tanks. Kelazhur down 20 supply and his upgrades aren't even done. Maru closing in for the kill. Couple tanks will siege up. A combat shield is still a long way off. +1 infantry weapons are done, but there's not enough energy. Scrambles 2 more. 4 tanks on the back line. And Kelazhur is getting obliterated. Maru moving forward. Anti-armor missile. But if you got nothing to shoot, it doesn't matter. Maru shreds him in game 2. And we're all tied up. Well. Better. That was, a bit more what you'd expect going into this match. Maru warming up and looking real hot right now. Kelazhur not able to really find anything early. Maru with no own goals. And, we're all tied up. I mean, that was almost as decisive as Kelazhur in game 1, so. But it was further on into the game, indicating that Maru has woken up a bit. I'll see. I wouldn't count Kelazhur out yet. He clearly He had all the tools. It's just Maru found that one time with the Cyclone drop. That killer instinct as well. All those upgrades coming together. Game 3. I'm not used to these live tournaments, but hopefully you're enjoying. I'm usually somewhat spoiled on YouTube, having the replays and able to jump into the next game. But the anticipation and knowing it's happening before our eyes, metaphorically, since we're online, but you know, it's 2023, so same thing. What will be the map? Hard lead. Appropriate for Terran versus Terran. And they're ready to go. The countdown has begun. 1-1. Kelazhur versus Maru. The decider. Will we have one of the biggest upsets? Or does Maru lock it down and knock him out? Thank you for tuning in to the ESL SC2 Masters Winter 2023. We're just getting started. In the bottom right, arguably the best Terran player in the history of StarCraft 2. It's the man, the myth, the Maru. And the upstart Terran from Brazil. It's Kelazhur. Taking game 1, punishing Maru for his mistakes. But Maru striking back with a vengeance in game 2. That brings us to the decider. Double gas. Not the least bit surprised. Not really much of a variation. Both players going for the medevac in the last game. Maru opting for more Ravens. The Swiss Army knife of Terran can be a crowbar to pry open the defenses, poke and prod with some auto turret harass, or the anti-armor missile to Dorito dust the rest and increase the damage output dramatically, especially if siege tanks and Marines, as it also buffs the splash damage of siege tanks. Factory on the way. Consistent trend. Kelazhur not scouting, maybe just for proxies. Whereas Maru consistently sending that SCV across. I don't know. You know, if the trend continues, this will be a great game. But Maru looked like Maru that last game. So, Second command. Wait, did he see? Yeah, he saw it. Okay. Maru expanding on the low ground with that little extra information that's been afforded him. Cyclone. Both sides. Starport, a little quicker for Maru. There's not much to be done. Like the early game, you can mix and match the flavors of the early Barracks Factory Starport. I've heard it called the Destiny Cloudfist build in a hallucinated distant past, but the general objective is the same. Have the right units to maintain map control and potentially do damage if your opponent either overextends or gets too greedy. And you simply can't do that with the unupgraded Marines. So this is the one matchup where a multi-barracks build isn't really in the cards unless you're proxying them right outside their base, which I would be surprised if we didn't see that at least a couple times in this tournament. But this series, not featuring any of it. Instead, falling back on that 1-1-1. The Reaper jumps up, knocked down. Marines in place. Just the Marines existing gives away a little bit of the build, but denying the Reaper. Much more valuable. Alright. Starport switched over to the tech lab. Oh, here we go again. The medevacs spot each other. Bit of a Spider-Man meme situation. Spider clone. Nope. Going to the watchtower. Kelazhur boosts by. Maru retreats. Gonna try to intercept the medevac. Definitely, the Cyclone drop is definitely more dangerous. But, well, I think Kelazhur, he spotted the medevac. If you can see their medevac can see you. That's how it works. Okay, here we go. Kelazhur, Kelazhur. Oh, he boosts back, but a lock. Nope. Up and down. All right. Medevac. Hey. Oh my god, the mind game. Right up his tailpipe. Kelazhur doesn't know there aren't cyclones in that medevac. So he can't just boost, like, we know that they're not there. But Kelazhur doesn't know. So Maru is pretty safe to just chase it down with his own medevac. Right up until Kelazhur comes across with 4 clones. There's 2 siege. This isn't... nothing's happening here. This ain't doing anything. Will he scan? Oh, no, that's... Okay, alright, 2 tank. Nope, go home. This time around, it's Kelazhur. 6 clones! The hexaclone. That sounds dramatic. Interference matrix done for Maru. The drop headed out. A scan spots the Raven timing and the barrack. That's a perfect scan. He sees the barracks timing, the third base timing, the Raven count. Maru has all the info here. He knows he's a little ahead in his barracks timing. His third command center's already done. So Maru has an edge by most counts. We'll see if he's able to cut through with it. Let's look. Does he have 3? He only has 2. That's 3 siege tanks. It's not gonna work. And now Maru, well, locking onto the medevac. Wait a second, auto turrets trying to come in. Cyclones, both sides. The invasion force shut down so far. A single Marine takes out the clone. 7 SCVs did die. So... And then the Marine drop into the main. This is actually a great timing here for Kelazhur. All the defenses concentrated at the natural. He's going to be able to get some damage done. We'll see how much in turn. No stim, unfortunately. Just unupgraded Marines on both sides. He picks up. And there's no reliable anti-air. So Kelazhur just gets away with it. Gets away with a light amount of murder. I'd say... Oh, well, no, you can't come back in. Oh, no. Oh, no, that's a mistake. Somehow Maru doesn't take advantage. Oh, but the siege tanks. Oh, if he just has vision. Oh, smacks! What are the counter scan, both sides, as they realize how close they are to one another. The fact that did that medevac get away at all? It died. It died. But the auto turrets, there's not much space to lay them down here. Ooh, Vikings. Gonna kill some more SCVs. Might lose the Ravens, which would be quite unfortunate as time goes on. Gonna lose some more. Auto turret versus auto turret. Laying down more to try to kill the Vikings and keep the Ravens alive. Looks like both... 10 SCVs dead. Maru down 59 to 46, and the Raven lives. What is the army count? 6 siege tanks to 1. Do we have to go back to that math equation? That is a significant siege tank advantage. Kelazhur, though, is going to have Stim, 1-1, and Combat Shield is nearly done. He's got the tools to potentially defend. But Maru has quite an army bearing down on him. That is a precarious timing. Without combat shield, this is not happening at all. Scramble's the only tank here. Stims in with the Marines. Another tank on the way. You gotta be very careful. Anti-armor missile. Some Cyclones on the low ground. This is a precarious position for both sides. Kelazhur, if he can defend without losing a critical amount of SCVs, but so far having a tough go of it. Scrambles 2 tanks. Gotta try to minimize the damage. The Cyclones take out 2. Marines from the high ground. But the Cyclones aren't looking like they're good enough. The split is perfect for Kelazhur. And he's able to dismantle the tanks, but at what cost? 21 SCVs pulled, and Maru has flipped the script on the worker count. It's now 62 to 50. So even though Maru is shut down in that attack, Kelazhur with a very capable defense, the economy tells a different story. Maru now with a decisive advantage economically. Does he have all 5 racks up? Both sides do. And the tank count. Gotta be careful moving out there. Maru looking to keep the aggression up. The main base is incredibly vulnerable as well. Those medevacs can threaten both sides of this. Kelazhur, he has enough army supply, but Maru clearly trying to threaten the main. And indeed he will. But there are still 4 clones. If those medevacs unload, it could be disastrous. But 4 clones are enough to ward them away. Kelazhur managed to maintain them throughout that fight, and we got a game on our hands. Fourth command center for Maru. 2-2. Both sides. Liberator being sent out. Kelazhur slight supply advantage, but it really comes down to momentum and unit composition in this matchup. Just seeing where the armies are and being able to keep track of it. Liberator into the main. Maru not looking. Gonna lose some SCVs to this. Kelazhur trying to take advantage of it. There's only 1 tank. He has a bit of a Marine lead. It's just to keep things busy. Gets 5 SCVs. Small advantages there. But Maru working his way up to the north side. He's got a small amount of units, but they're both jockeying for position around the map. The 4th command center is kind of an important one. Targeting it down. It's going to have to be canceled. It is at the last second. It only costs Maru a few Marines, but that's a huge deal. That 4th command center is the next stage of the game. And Maru just delayed it for Kelazhur. But at what cost? Well, that doesn't really tell the story, does it? I don't think that's the right... Meanwhile, those Marines are taken out. Kelazhur 20 supply lead. No! The command center! It sits down forever. Maru is supply blocked by it as well. Kelazhur finishes 2-2. And just like that, Kelazhur strikes back. Wow. Maru making an elementary mistake not protecting his CC. And a bit of karma there. Losing his 4th command center to a group of Marines. The scans continuing. What is the tank count? 8-5 in favor of Maru. He has +1 mech weapons done, but Kelazhur's already there working on +2. The Brazilian Terran. He's got the advantage. Overall, there's no part of the game here. I guess a few more SCVs? What about production? Maru does have 2 factories, but Kelazhur has more army supply. He's got faster upgrades, and now he's got a quicker 4th command center. It's on Kelazhur now. The Viking count, Maru is banking on air control. He's starting to turtle up. And if he drags this to the ultra late game, he has the most experience of anyone in the world. Kelazhur not going to be able to get anything done right now. 4th command center, but he picks up. And he heads for the main. And then stops to take a bit of a water break. There are plenty of turrets. I think Maru is suspicious of exactly this, but they're not up yet. He leads with a medevac with no units in it. And unloads with the rest. A decisive drop from Kelazhur. The armory itself is vulnerable. SCV's already down. 13 SCVs targeted. The army comes back to defend. Kelazhur, will he try to take advantage of this? Gets to the back line. The army's moving up on the minimap. And Gonna try to drop on top of the tanks, eating the damage. Here come the SCVs. Maru realizes how dangerous this is. Okay. Well, not quite enough. Kelazhur tries to break through, but stuffed at the door. The Marines slaughtered the Liberators. More than enough to hold the line, and Kelazhur jumped the gun just a bit. His +3 attack is not quite done yet. And maybe missing the opportunity to use that upgrade advantage. But Kelazhur tried to break Maru. But Maru wasn't having it. And now, the army supplies and the general supplies about even. Maru will be able to finish his 3-3 momentarily, and he has the air army. 10 Vikings to 0. 2 Liberators to 0. Kelazhur has a massive Marine lead, 51-18. But the time at which that's going to be a decisive advantage is quickly closing. As Liberators and Vikings and Siege tanks, those mechanical units, much stronger in the late game. No advanced ballistics is the only saving grace here. Leveraging those Liberators to keep Kelazhur at bay. Kelazhur has to decide now. Is he going for Starport, or is he going to try to end this? Because he only has 1 Starport at the moment, to Maru's 3. He's still making Marines, Medevacs, and Siege tanks, which is a much more mobile composition, but Maru's adding more and more Ravens on. It's going to get only more difficult from here to break this army. The scans. Ooh, the Siege tank not quite in range. Taking a lot of splash damage. The Liberator going to help out as well. The Marines split in stem. Maru has a lot of cover there. A devastating fight. It's a disaster for Kelazhur. Oh no, and right before he does the Starport switch, he went directly up a hill into Siege tanks. Oh, well. It doesn't get more obvious a mistake than that. He thought maybe. But I think if you asked him twice whether that was a good idea, well, now Maru has the army composition and the supply to turn the tables. The Liberators are moving forward. Kelazhur gonna lose the rest of his medevacs. He's down to 0. 15 Siege tanks. 11 Vikings for Maru. The rocks, what are you going to do with the Marines? The Siege tanks are everywhere. Kelazhur still has plenty of bases. The income advantage is not that dramatic. Mass Viking for Kela. Oh, the army is spotted. The only mistake Maru can make is getting outflanked by the sheer Marine count. Oh no, not again. The Siege tanks are already operational. Anti-armor missile just blowing away groups of Marines. They go sprawling across the field. And with it, the hopes and dreams of the Brazilian Terran. 183 to 139 supply. The Ravens dismantling the defense. Maru gonna take it slow. Make it happen. The Vikings come up to maybe take out the Liberator, but at what cost? Maru. It's going to be nearly impossible to come back from that. A series of devastating losses. Kelazhur a hard-fought battle, but Maru dragged him to the late game and is smashing him with experience. That Raven Viking composition with the Liberators and Siege tanks behind. He simply cannot complete or compete. Take your pick. GG. Maru takes it back.